Hey there. Welcome to Rested Mamas Talk. We're Chelsea.
And Mika, your certified pediatric sleep coaches who were once exhausted mamas just like you turned into rested mamas who now have helped hundreds of families get better sleep in 3 days with an alternative to traditional sleep training.
As creators of the Association Fading Sleep Method, we teach a responsive and holistic approach. Our podcast is dedicated to sharing the journey from true parental exhaustion to thriving parenthood.
From real sleep tips from us and other experts to real stories of families just like you.
Let's get rested. Hey there, mamas. Hey, parents. Welcome to another episode of Rested Mamas Talk. We are really excited to be with you today. I'm going to be honest, it's been a hot minute since we've been able to record an episode, so we're really excited to talk today. Hi, Mika. How are you doing?
Hi, Chels, and hello, everyone. It's very fitting for why it's been so crazy, and we have a good topic for you today.
We're kind of actually just inspired, like with everything with our own lives, but the last couple of weeks specifically, this topic really helped or kind of kept on coming up, and we have been talking about it just as friends and talking through it. And that is the topic of selfless mother. Now, not selfish mother, but selfless mother. And are they one? Are they the same? So let's go ahead and dive in. Mika, kind of paint a picture for us really quick.
Yeah, so this topic came up in a conversation that I had with a friend. And given that we just talked about, we have been so busy. I mean, yes, rested mom, happy baby, supporting families, everything. But as a mother, and I know Chelsea feels the same way, I have been super busy. My little girl is 6 years old. She's turning 7 next weekend.
Yeah.
And she has a whole bunch of activities. I have an almost 2-year-old son who has a whole bunch of activities. I am driving them to school. I'm trying to run a business. I then have to leave my day early to pick her up from school, so she's not in after school care, in order to get her snack. And then I drop her off at whatever she has for after school. And then I have to go pick up my son and then take him to what he has after school. And then I run back to make dinner to get my kids in bed by 7 o'clock. And I'm usually fried by Friday. And I don't have time to talk to my friends a lot. And so it's either text or Marco Polo or something like that. And I just remember that I had gotten a message from a friend, and you vent with your friends.
Of course.
You're tired.
That's all you can do.
Your mom tired.
Yeah.
And, she was being so supportive. And the thing that came out of her mouth that I think kind of jarred me in so many different ways, I made these thoughts run wild, was I told her all the things that I'm doing right now that's making me tired. And her supportive response was, "Oh my gosh, you're such a good mother. You're so selfless." And initially it makes you feel good.
Yeah.
But I think what we want to talk about here is how that exact comment back unfolds into so many different feelings that maybe isn't right. So yes, okay, great. I love being called a good mother. Who does not love that? She, not just her, but I've had mom friends who have said that, and then they follow it up with, "Gosh, I just sat at home and watched TV, and I'm such a bad mom. You're a way better mother than me." There are so many wrong things that happened in that conversation that I don't think we as societal moms, at least in the US, realize are actually wrong.
Well, and I even just like what you were saying, Mika, when that initial comment was made, you're like, "Oh my gosh, yeah, I am." But then when you really step back and think about it, like, why does basically going like an Energizer bunny all the time, why does that make us a good mom? Does it? But then there's that just essentially like a domino effect of that we go through. Okay, well, if that makes me a good mom, then I need to make sure to have this activity booked, and I need to make sure to make this meal, and I need to make sure that I'm doing X, Y, and Z in order to get to that bar every single time. But is that true? Like, does that make us a good mom? And I think that, of course, there are things that are at play that play more into it. For example, social media. And when people and moms are kind of showing the things that they're doing with their child. And I'm going to be honest with you, I have that feeling all the time, particularly with my younger son. So, when I had just my daughter, so you guys, my daughter is 8. Frankly, I just had more time to do things with just her and to get her into different activities than I did with my son. Now having 2 kids, we work full time, all of that. But I actually was feeling really, really guilty over the weekend. Actually, I was talking with a friend of mine, and I was like, man, like I just went back and I looked at a whole bunch of pictures, and I realized, like, man, Lena used to be like, she had done X, Y, like all of these things by the time that she was 3.5. And I was like, I was just feeling like such a failure. Like, oh my gosh, I haven't been giving my son the same kind of opportunities. But I think it goes back to that fact about how it's always like, what are we doing for our kids? What is that selflessness about us as a parent that makes us feel like that's what makes us a good mom? You know what I
Let's
mean?
reverse that too,
Yeah.
because imagine what the follow-up is of the person giving you the compliment. So my mom friends would have said, "Oh my gosh, you know what? You are a great mom. You do so much, and you're giving up everything. I just
Yeah.
sat on the couch and watched Netflix on Friday because I was so exhausted. I didn't even have that time. Gosh, I'm such a bad mom."
Mm-hmm.
So when it switched in that conversation, the domino effect is that everyone just made a complete circle to say a selfless mom is the best mom, and a mom that took time for herself because she knew what her
And it
boundaries were
was,
was
yeah.
considered a bad
Bad
mom. In
mom.
that same conversation, everyone willingly, I guess, just ended the conversation like it was normal. And in your situation, right, we are wired that way. And I want to break that down and break that off on today's podcast, because after we had those conversations together and with friends, it made me so passionate about, you know what? Forget this selfless mom thing.
Yeah. Forget it. Put it out the window.
Yeah,
Done.
throw it out the window. Yes, we are supposed to be there to be supportive of our kids. And again, I know we are not for everybody.
Yeah.
And
Which is okay. Yeah.
yeah, and that's okay. And I think being a selfless mom also means defining it in a way where you're literally giving up everything that you have in order to support what people think you should be doing as a mother. And when you think about it in that definition, that's not healthy for
No.
you as a woman, for you as a parent, because guess what? You probably have multiple identities. So you are completely emptying out every bucket that makes you, that makes you actually a great mom, a great friend, a great mother, a great wife, a great whatever,
Yeah.
just to overfill this selfless mother bucket. And there
Well,
just feels something off about that.
Well, and I actually, so in preparation for our podcast today, actually, I Googled because I was just curious, Mika, if I were to Google selfless mother, what would be the first thing that popped up? And it was very interesting because it did give a definition, but then there were all of these articles about how like mothers are so selfless and almost like glorifying that
Oh my
in a
gosh,
way.
yes.
And so the definition was selfless service to another, putting others' needs before their own. Which I understand as a mom. I mean, there is an element to that. Like, we do have to put our kids' needs, at the forefront. Of course, like that is, but is that to the detriment of our own needs? That's the question I think that we really need to ask and ask ourselves, and also ask as a society. And this actually goes really at the heart too, Mika, of kind of like what we do, like what Rested Mama Happy Baby is all about, to be honest with you. And it is actually, in an indirect way, one of our main goals with all of our clients is that we are helping them to kind of find themselves again, to like not be emptying that bucket all the time, and being able to get sleep, and to be able to obviously then kind of put themselves, have a little bit of priority for themselves as well. But I just thought that that was so interesting when I Googled, it really was like this like pedestal, all these articles about how selfless mothers are, and how, we do X, Y, and it just, it's all great. Like, yeah, like we should be able to be there for our families and our kids. But again, at what detriment, right?
So let's redefine selfless then. So
Yeah.
when we started this off and we said the way that society glorifies completely empty bucket of everything else and a full bucket of selfless, and even the definition that you put together is so open-ended.
I know.
So
Really is.
let's spin the words
Yeah.
a little bit, and I bet it will hit you guys differently. So Chelsea said, selfless service to another, putting other needs before your own, ... no matter the cost.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so there's one. Let's take a different approach to a selfless mother. A selfless service to another, putting the other's needs before their own for whole happiness. Let's just say you can still be selfless without sacrificing yourself. And I think this is where we pivot to a little bit of sleep, and to maybe the core of what we feel is get rid of that idealistic society Instagram painted picture of a selfless mother where they empty themselves. Mm-hmm. And let's create a new image where you are selfless and you are filling your bucket for the purpose of being selfless.
Yeah.
Because I would argue that any bucket you have unfilled for your identity is probably a detriment to your family.
Yeah. Well, and we talked about that actually at another one of our episodes, just of our own previous experiences. And that where it goes to, my own personal experience with lack of sleep, and also feeling like I needed to always put others' needs in front of my own, ultimately was what led to my postpartum depression. And that's actually sleep deprivation. I mean, we all know it, you guys. It's a common experience among all parents, but at, kind of at what cost? What does that look like? And I think that there also is a difference between being selfless and also, and I don't want to get ahead of myself here because it's two different topics, but also being the view of, if you're not doing those things that kind of society says that we should be doing, and, just up and willing to kind of be up with your child at all hours, and, whatever that child needs at any other point makes us selfish, if that makes sense. So sleep, you guys, isn't selfish. Okay. That is not something that is selfish. It is a need. But, you actually looked up some statistics here, and that, a study that was actually published in the Journal of Family Psychology found that mothers who actually reported poor sleep quality for the first 6 months of having a baby were actually more likely to be experiencing those postpartum depression. And I think that it goes back to, because not only are we kind of having a new identity within being a mother, we're also trying to be selfless in one of the basic biological and physical needs, which is sleep. And that with us being selfless, a lot of times society says it's okay to be giving up that human need of sleep, right? So
we always talk about sustainability, right? Like if it's for families who decided to co-sleep or rock to sleep in the beginning, you'll find that like they had no problem of it because it was fulfilling their need to get rest.
Totally.
So there was a happy medium or an intersection of where you felt like you were completely, I will put in parentheses, fulfilling your child's needs, but also fulfilling yours. And in those situations, right? Great. You're being selfless for everyone. That's awesome. There is for some families a point where doing those things are taking away from your ability to recharge, to reconnect. And your other buckets start to get smaller and smaller. Yet there's this weird guilt from everyone that's like, well, yeah, you should enjoy that time, or you should do that. You're fulfilling your needs. Don't feel bad about that.
Or this only lasts for a short time. And
we're encouraging like each of us to be completely digging our grave. That's what I feel like sometimes. It's like, hey, it's okay for you not to like it, and it's okay for you to change it. And think about that. So other stats that we found, for example, when we talk about emptying that bucket, is there was a survey conducted by the American Academy of Sleep Medicine that nearly 30% of new parents reported that sleep deprivation had led to conflicts in partnerships. Like, I don't even think I needed a number for that.
I think we kind of already knew.
For short, you just want sleep. You're not thinking about anything else. If you are selfless to the whole of yourself, then yes, you're going to think about your partner, because guess what? At the end of the day, if you have the luxury of having a supportive partner or a partner in your life, like you want them to want to be part of parenthood, right? And so when you are completely emptying your bucket for just your kids only, you're emptying your bucket and you're emptying your marriage bucket, how is that good for the whole? Right. It can't feel right.
Well, and one thing we always say too is if something's working for you right now, that's great. Like that is awesome. And if it is working for you, that actually tells us that you are fulfilling some of your needs.
Buckets.
Yeah. So your buckets. If it's not working for you, that's okay. And it doesn't mean that you are a bad mom. It doesn't mean that you are selfish. It means that there is a bucket, continue with this analogy, that needs more filling. And in order for you to be the mom that you want to be, a parent that you want to be, it is okay to take a step back in order to continue to give to make sure that those needs are made.
So let's rephrase that back to our original. Okay. So if you feel like all of your buckets are getting empty and your, motherhood bucket is overfilled, and you're feeling the emptiness of the other buckets, I'm going to challenge you in a place of love to rethink what it means for you to be a selfless mother. And not that, again, like Chelsea said, doing that makes you a selfish mother, right? But sometimes we need a good friend. And for us, let's be that good friend. Let's be that good village to give you some perspective of it's okay to redefine selflessness that includes yourself, because it probably helps the whole.
And I'm going to be honest, it is easier said than done. And I also am going to say, and I think I could probably speak for the both of us, that we get in that rut as well. And it is, just all of us as parents, we just want to see our kids happy, right? And we want to see them doing well as people and, raising them to our best of our abilities. Those are all common wants and, I guess needs as well. But, it's just take a second, even if it is for 1 minute at the beginning of the day when you are brushing your teeth, and really think about, how does that look for me? How does being a selfless mom look for me? And not what social media says, not what your friend says, not what your mom says, not what your grandma says, but what does that look like for you specifically?
I mean, that's the whole premise of the name of our company, right? It's
Yeah.
Rested Mama, Happy Baby. Because at the end of the day, you could be giving your child a whole bunch of cuddles that maybe is still not getting them sleep.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember having a dad on one of the consults, and mom was worried about like, oh, I just don't know if I want to change it because right now she's sleeping. And dad was like, but she's crying so
She's
much right
not.
now.
Yeah.
So it's like, we're clearly not filling her needs, somewhere else. At the end of the day, our children and what impacts their childhood and their livelihood and what they're going to remember is going to be us being happy with them
And just being
and
our best
us being
selves. Yeah.
rested. Yeah. And us, I mean, I can't tell you how many times the best parts of me having a conversation with my almost 7-year-old was around her saying things like, oh, I'm gonna play tennis like you, or like, oh, when I have kids, I'm gonna do this too, mom, and we're gonna
Yeah.
do things that you have dinner and like say jokes.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm not gonna have time or energy to say jokes or be
Yeah.
happy if I am tired all the time. But she remembered the moments. She didn't, I mean, I can ask her, hey, what did you learn in she goes to a performing arts school.
Yeah.
So what'd you learn in acting class the other day? And she's like, I don't
I
know.
don't know. I talked.
Yeah. But she can tell me the weird joke that I made about a dinosaur who fell in the water like
Yeah.
7 weeks ago. So just keep that in mind, rested mama,
Happy
happy
baby.
baby,
Well, and
happy.
it's so much of what we teach our kids is what they watch us do. It's not things that we say and kind of by watching us, which is really cliche, I know, but it is true. And then we're going to go to our tips and reminders. But one little story I did have kind of speaking to that, kind of jogged my memory, was that a few weeks ago. Okay, so anybody who knows my daughter, she is very like forward thinking, and she is always thinking about the future, which is great. But sometimes it's always like, okay, we need to stay in the present, like enjoy where you are right now. It's kind of a continuous lesson that she is learning and trying. Well, so she's always asking what I should be when I grow up, or what do I think about this? Or do you think that, so her new thing is that she wants to be a fashion designer, which is great. Like, I think that is awesome. But I was kind of having those conversations with her. She's like, well, how do you do that? And I was talking about different schools, colleges that you could go to, and then you can join different companies. And she stopped. She's like, well, why do I have to join other companies? And I was like, well, I mean, you don't have to, but that's another avenue that you can get experience. And she was like, well, why can't I just start my own company like you? And I was like, well, okay, then. I was like, yeah, you can do that. But like,
How many times, Chelsea,
yeah.
have you felt guilty about working your
Yeah.
own business with your kids? And like,
Hundreds.
how awesome. How
Yeah.
awesome is that going to impact Lena to think that so many more things are possible than just spilling yourself over
Yeah.
in taking her to gymnastics?
All the time. Well, but when she said that, I was like, okay, like, I guess she is. I mean, we're showing our kids possibilities all the time by what we do. And I'm not just saying like, if you own a business, but just being our best self teaches them how to be their best selves. And that's what we're all here for, right? So, okay. So I digress a little bit with that story, but one of the things that we do every single episode is that we send you with some actionable reminders or tips. And so let's go into ours for this episode. So your rested mama sleep tips. So today we are all talking about selflessness, selfless motherhood, selfish, not selfish mother. And so here is one of my, I guess, pieces of advice or tip, but it's actually more of a challenge for you, is that I really want you, if you're listening to this podcast episode, to take this week and find your one thing that truly fills a need for yourself. It can be something really small. It can be something big, but find what that one thing is. And I want you to make it a priority on a daily basis, not just once a month, not just once every other week, but I want you to make it something that is a daily basis thing that you can do. And this means that's a non-negotiable. So if that means that you have to say no to other things in order to have your one thing in play that day, then it is okay. And I will be honest, you will be so much happier, thankful for that one thing. Now, number 2, Mika, this is more sleep related.
So this is more sleep related. And more of a thought, and something that honestly my husband talks about all the time. So if you want to talk about something that can fill your marriage bucket, it's early bedtime. Almost all of our families that we work with, we actually have a bedtime for them of anywhere between 6:30 and 7:30, majority of them. Yes, there's some families that have a little later. We align to a child's natural sleep rhythm, but most children actually do really, really well with an early bedtime, and you're giving them super quality sleep. So let's fill that bucket. And then early bedtime is a time where you can reconnect with yourself, with your partner, with your spouse.
Watch that episode on Netflix.
Watch that episode without, falling asleep, because it's 9:00. And I can't tell you how many times my husband has said, what do people do when they don't have early bedtime?
Jeff, my husband, says that all the time. He was like, he goes, I just don't understand how these people have, which he's not in the world of sleep, so kind of take that with a grain of salt. But when he's like, how do they have a 10:00 bedtime? He was like, how do they get anything done? Because I'm going to be honest, we get like a lot of things done too between the hours of 7:30 and 9:30, in addition to just having a late dinner together as well. So that's number 2. Okay, number 3. Go for it.
So number 3, this is just a thought. Some of the things that made me really stressful as a first-time mom was nap time and getting my child to sleep. So I was already stressed out about my child's naps and getting them to sleep. And then when I did, and I knew I had 25, 30 minutes, I know this sounds like a lot of you too, I felt the need to okay, I got to go clean up, the nursery real fast, and I'm going to put this laundry in. Especially if you are a newborn mom, you probably have a lot of naps. Just let it go.
You don't need to do anything.
You don't need to do anything during nap time. It's okay to not be productive during the times that your child is not. And I know, trust me, I am OCD. We have a lot of square footage in this house of things to get broken and messy. And I'm not suggesting that you do that for every nap, especially if you are moms like us. But do it once in a while. Do it once in a while. Don't do anything for that one nap.
I saw a reel the other day, and the tagline was what moms are actually doing during nap time. And it was this 10-second video of this mom rushing to the laundry, and then to pick up the toys, and then to do the dishes, and then to straighten up the rug, and then a vacuum. And then she sits down and, baby starts to cry. And I'm like, yeah, sometimes those things need to get done, but it's okay just to sit down and take a drink of coffee or a smoothie or eat. All of those things are all just as fulfilling for your family as well. So, well, thank you guys. I hope that this has, if anything, just helped kind of jog some of your thoughts and start to kind of try to maybe shift a little bit of a mindset as well as you're going through, especially if your children are young and old, middle, whatever it looks like. But as always, we're really happy that you're here with us today, and just know that we are here for you, rooting for you. So,
you could always reach out to us. We would love to hear your selfless mother stories or what you're doing for yourself. We are on Instagram, of course. We are on YouTube. If you see this on YouTube and you subscribe, tell us, how did this resonate with you?
What is your one thing?
Feel that? What is your one thing
that you're not giving up? For sure. Well, thanks you guys. We really appreciate your time, and we are excited for next episode. Make sure to check us out, and you have a wonderful rest of the day. Bye, Mika. We'll talk to you soon. Love you. Bye. Thanks for listening to this episode of Rested Mamas Talk. To stay connected and get more sleep tips from us, follow us on our Instagram page at rested_mama_happy_baby.
To find out how we're helping families around the world get better sleep, check out our website, restedmamahappybaby.com, or chat with us directly to learn more about our programs. Chat with you next time.